Bringing a cat to church? Yeah, it sounds like the start of a pretty funny story, doesn't it? You can almost picture it. But believe it or not, it is a real and honestly beautiful tradition in the Catholic Church. Today, we're going to dive into the fascinating truth behind the pet blessing ceremony. It's a practice that's just full of history, deep spiritual meaning, and, let's be real, a whole lot of love for the furry, feathered, or scaly companions that share our lives. So, let's get into it. Okay, so here's what we've got lined up. First, we are going to clear up the biggest misconception out there, because knowing what this ceremony isn't is step one to really getting what it is. Then we'll go back in time to explore where this all started and what it really means. After that, we'll get practical, what actually happens at the ceremony, and, super important, a safety guide for your cat. And we'll wrap it all up by answering some of the most common questions you might have. All right, first things first. Before we get into all the beautiful history and meaning, we have to talk about the cat in the room. This is the one thing that trips almost everyone up, and we need to set the record straight right from the get-go. You've probably heard someone call it a cat baptism, right? It's a catchy phrase, I get it. I mean, you've got a priest, a church, holy water, it looks the part. But is the church actually performing the sacrament of baptism on a cat? The short answer, no. A definitive, absolute no. So this slide really breaks it down, and the difference is huge. Over on the left, we have a blessing. In Catholic theology, this is called a sacramental. Think of it as a prayer that asks for God's favor on something. You can bless an animal, sure, but you can also bless a house, a car, your rosary beads. A blessing asks for God's protection and basically says, hey, this is a good part of God's creation. Now look at the right. Baptism is a sacrament. That's a whole different league. Sacraments are seen as direct channels of God's grace. Baptism is specifically for humans because its purpose is to cleanse original sin and welcome a person into the church. This requires what theology calls a rational soul and free will, things that are understood to apply only to people. So, bottom line, it's a blessing, not a baptism. Okay, so now that we've cleared that up, we can move on from what the ceremony isn't to what it truly is. And this is where the story gets really amazing. If it's not a baptism, then what's the big idea? Why does the church set aside a whole day to honor and bless animals? The whole idea rests on this one powerful concept, stewardship of creation. And this is not just some modern, eco-friendly buzzword. It's a core belief that goes all the way back to the book of Genesis. The idea is that humans were given this special role, not to be tyrants over nature, but to be its caretakers, its guardians. We're entrusted with a sacred duty to look after the earth and all the life on it. The pet blessing is a living, breathing example of this idea in action. It's a way of saying, we take this job seriously, starting with the creatures that are literally in our own homes. And check this out. This shows you how alive this idea still is. This powerful line is from Pope Francis's major letter on the environment, Laudato Si. Notice what he says here. He's not just saying being cruel to animals is bad for the animal. He's saying it's bad for us. It goes against our own dignity. Basically, our humanity is made smaller when we don't show compassion to other living things. So the blessing ceremony isn't just a nice thing for our pets. It's a statement about our own commitment to being the best, most caring humans we can be. Now, if you had to pick one person in all of history who just gets this idea of harmony with nature, it's this guy. The whole tradition of blessing animals, it finds its heart and soul in the life of one of the most beloved saints in the entire world, Saint Francis of Assisi. You see, St. Francis wasn't just a guy who thought animals were cute. His whole worldview was, frankly, radical. He saw everything, the sun, the moon, the animals, the water, as part of one giant family. He famously preached to birds, and there's that legendary story about him taming a ferocious wolf, not with a weapon, but by just talking to it. When he called an animal brother wolf or sister sparrow, he meant it. He believed we are all deeply connected, and that's exactly why he's the patron saint of animals and ecology, and the inspiration for this whole ceremony. And here's the magic date you need to know. October 4th is the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi. In the church, a feast day is basically an annual party to celebrate a saint's life. So to honor the guy who loved animals so much, this is the day that most parishes all over the world choose to hold their pet blessing ceremonies. So if you ever want to find one, start looking around the first week of October. All right, we've covered the why, the deep meaning, and the history behind it. So now let's get into the how. What does it actually look like when you show up with your cat to one of these things? It's a beautiful and usually pretty simple and joyful event. It pretty much happens in three parts. First, the gathering. You'll see everyone with their pets, big dogs, little dogs, cats and carriers, maybe a bird in a cage, all meeting up in an open space like the church parking lot. It's usually a scene of happy chaos. Second, the word and prayer. The priest will lead a short service, often reading from the creation story in Genesis to set the tone. Then he'll say the official prayer of blessing for animals. Finally, the main event, the blessing. The priest walks through the crowd with holy water and gives a little sprinkle to each animal, and usually the owner too. It's a really heartwarming moment. Now for the really, really practical stuff. Remember, the whole point of this is care and stewardship. And that means our number one priority has to be the well-being of our animals. And as any cat owner knows, cats can be particular about new, loud places with lots of strange dogs. So getting ready for this isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. Okay, these 4 rules are non-negotiable. 1, your cat absolutely must be in a secure carrier. No exceptions. This is their safe bubble. Putting a light blanket over part of it can help them feel even safer. 2, vaccinations. This is just basic public health. Make sure they're up to date, especially on rabies. 3, be aware of your surroundings. Keep your distance from other animals. A big, friendly dog is still terrifying to a cat in a box. Maybe hang out on the edge of the crowd. And 4, speak up. Cats and getting splashed with water are not a great mix. When the priest comes by, just politely ask for a very light sprinkle, maybe just on the carrier. They will totally understand. So this brings us to a crucial point. Being a good steward means knowing your pet. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do on the Feast of St. Francis is to just stay home. The whole point is the well-being of the animal, and if going to the event would cause them a ton of stress or harm, well, that just defeats the entire purpose. Let's be super clear about this. Please do not bring your cat if any of these apply. If she's pregnant, the stress isn't good. If it's a kitten who hasn't had all their shots, their immune system is just too fragile. If your cat is sick at all, you risk getting other animals sick. And finally, and this is a big one, if you know your cat has a heart condition or just gets extremely stressed out, it would be cruel to put them through this. Their health comes first, and God's blessing isn't limited by your physical location. And that leads to this wonderful, totally common solution. If your pet can't come for any of those reasons, just bring a picture of them. Seriously. Priests are completely used to this and are more than happy to say the blessing over a photograph. The blessing is a prayer, a spiritual act. It's not magic water that has to physically touch them. This way, your pet gets the same love and prayer while staying safe and calm at home. Okay, we're rounding the corner, so let's wrap things up by hitting some of the most frequently asked questions about the ceremony. This is where we get into the community side of things and other ways you can participate. This is probably the number one question people have, and it's a great one. Is this some kind of exclusive Catholics-only event, or can anyone with a pet they love just show up? The answer is a huge, warm yes, absolutely. This event isn't about what religion you are. It's a celebration of something we all share, the love for our pets and our place in the natural world. Parishes welcome everyone from the community, whatever their faith, to come and be a part of this happy day. It's a really cool moment of unity. But what if you just can't make it? Maybe your work schedule is crazy, or your cat is just too old and frail, or maybe there just isn't a church near you doing it. Does that mean you're out of luck? Nope, not at all. You've still got some really great options. First, you could always ask a priest if they'd be willing to do a private blessing, maybe during a quick visit to your home. That's way less stressful for your pet. And second, and this is a really cool part of the tradition, as the head of your household, you can say your own prayer of blessing at home. You can just thank God for the joy your pet brings you and ask for them to be kept safe and healthy. It's a personal, powerful, and beautiful thing to do. And so, this whole amazing tradition, with its deep history of stewardship and the spirit of St. Francis, leaves us with one last big question. The ceremony itself is a wonderful symbol that happens once a year, but the spirit behind it, that's for every day. So how do we keep that going? Beyond this one blessing, what else can we do to actively show our love and respect for all the creatures that share our world? Maybe it's volunteering at a shelter or being kinder to the wildlife in our own backyards. Whatever it is, the real blessing is living out that call to be compassionate caretakers of creation every single day.